Hi everyone. Let me make sure. Okay, I've muted everything around here. Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I'm sorry that I started a little bit late tonight. Today we are going to unravel some of these yarn cakes that we dyed in our last live stream. So we over-dyed two different types of yarn. We over-dyed 100 grams of Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool in the color Oak Tweed, and we used some cooler tone Easter egg dye tablets for dyeing this yarn. We also inserted dye tablets into a 50-gram cake of Stroll Tweed. This yarn is 65% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and then 10% Donegal tweed. And so it is, it was a pale gray yarn, and I thought that it would be really fun to see what happened. And so in this one, we inserted the dye tablets sort of around the middle of the yarn cake, a very, very loosely wound yarn cake, and then put it in the pot. And with the Lion Brand cake, and you can see that the top is a lot lighter, but the color on the bottom, we've got these really, really deep, rich greens and stuff that I'm really excited to see. This one had a total of 12 tablets, and we inserted them around the inside, near the outside edge, in the pot, in the center, so all around. But, oh dear. How is the quality, everyone? This seems to say my quality is not doing too well. So please let me know if there are any issues so that way I can see about trying to correct them. But anyway, the other thing we learned in the stream is that the PAAS Easter egg tablets I've been using in my more recent Easter egg dyeing videos, especially the ones in the last 2 years, don't have any citric acid. And because they have sodium bicarbonate, which is basic, I have been needing to add a lot more vinegar to the dye bath than I did with my original Easter egg dyeing experiments, because the original tablets I used had some citric acid. So that when the dye tablets dissolved, they didn't raise the pH as much as the ones I've been using more recently. And I'll chat a little bit more about that when I do the recap and show the finished unwound yarns from this video, from these videos, and from the first ones that we did in this series. So we kind of did the reverse with the first few yarns. We used the red, yellow, and orange on the fisherman's wool, on the Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool, and then we used some cooler tones on our Stroll Tweed. And so right here with this gray, you can almost get a sense, the palest gray of the original color. But the affiliate links for the yarns that I used that we overdyed, both the Lion Brand and the Knit Picks Stroll Tweed, are in the video description for this video. So just in case you want to pick some up to dye yourself. Oh, great. I'm glad it looks fine. Yeah. So one of the other things that since I was running late, I posted a new post from today in the comments. At the end of February, starting February 26th, okay, my voice was sounding weird. Anyway, starting on the 26th of February, we are going to do a sock blank special too. But the added component is that this is going to be a dye-along. So on the ChemKnits website, chemknits.com, I published a post today that had, where you can buy your own sock blanks, what tools you can use to make your own sock blanks, so that way you can dye along with me. And I also have a list of other equipment and tools that are handy to have on hand, as I have this week of a lot of sock blank dyeing and live streams, pre-filmed videos, and it'll be a lot of fun. But I am sort of telling you about it now so that we have time to get your hands on the materials so you can dye along with me. One person asked if they could use a reclaimed sweater that they plan to unravel, and I thought that was a fantastic idea. A sweater sounds like the ultimate blank for dyeing and unraveling. So I thought that, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. I might even crochet a blank, and we'll just have a lot of fun. But I'm so glad so many of you have been able to join me tonight. I've mentioned the radio tower before, but I sort of I have to like move this up high so that way I can scroll and see everybody. Funny. No idea. Okay, I have no idea what those are. But anyway, which one of the cakes do you think that we should unravel first? Should we do, and I'm going to be unwinding these onto my Niddy Noddy so we can see what's in the center. We could do the Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool, which will probably have a bunch of like deep purples, greens, and blues. Or we could do the Stroll Fingering or the Stroll Tweed that will have this warm, sort of more traditional sunset colorway. So let me know in the comments which one you think I should do first. And as you are letting me know, I will try to drop down to the floor so that way we can see as much as possible as I am doing this. Let's see. I forget how I had set this up before. All right. The Loops and Threads machine from Michaels makes wider blanks than the machine that I have. Cool. That's always good. Yeah, the one that I have, I haven't tried doing the blanks flat with my machines yet. I've only done them sort of in the round. And aha, okay, I think that this is a the Lion Brand one. Okay, that seems to be the consensus. So I have my, oh dear, I have most of my Niddy Noddy. Okay, here it is. I do have my Niddy Noddy. This is a Niddy Noddy I made out of PVC pipe. It has made an appearance on many of the live streams, and there's even videos on how to make your own on the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. When I was squeezing out, so I took the yarn cakes out of the pot and I squeezed out a bunch of the excess water. So that way they could dry. So what, the live stream was on Friday and today is Sunday. So that way we could sort of dry it out as much as possible. And here are the two sides of it. So, and I actually set it on top of my drying rack so that way the bottom could dry a bit. The center is still damp. So it is definitely not completely dry, but it is dry-ish. Yeah, I think that, you know, I like the convenience of winding my own blanks, but the Knit Picks commercial blanks were amazing to work with and amazing to unravel. So I like using those a lot too. Oh, so I am unwinding this from the outside in. And someone asked on one of the other streams, why did it go the other way? Why did I not start at the inside, since it's a center pull ball, and unravel in that way? And the reason why I start at the outside is because I kind of like getting the reveal. I like seeing the way, you know, if I were to start at the inside, I wouldn't see how the, like, it just wouldn't, I'm curious what the inside looks like. And so that's why I like to start at the outside. So right away, it might be hard for you to see the tones, but I'm seeing a lot of really, really deep greens and purples with what I'm unraveling right now. Yes, it's expensive to buy blanks from Knit Picks. I think the one, and that's why I also was giving suggestions for making your own, because I know that the $20 can be expensive and they don't have a sale going on at the moment to make them cheaper. The one plus of the blanks from Knit Picks, besides, like, I'm sure the other blanks from the other companies are nice as well, The one sort of benefit is that you can buy individual blanks versus having to commit to a minimum of 10, 5 or 10 from some of the other companies. So with Knit Picks, you could buy a pack of 20, which even I've never done. Or you can buy a single blank, and so that's kind of nice. There is a Canadian company that offers, and it's listed in the post, that they offer, you can actually pay an additional $6 or $6.50 Canadian dollars for them to create any of their fingering or sock weight yarns into either a single-stranded or a double-stranded blank. And so that sounds really, really interesting. But the price of the blanks, I think, would end up being, well, I didn't do the currency conversion. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is right now. But it would either be about the same, it would be around the same as the Knit Picks blanks. Sorry about that. Much more, yes. So there is a Canadian company where you can get blanks. So I did include one on the list. So the yarn there, and so right now the darker colors are kind of going away, and we've got more, it's kind of a teal that I'm seeing in here. But look at that pop of, the pink isn't reading the way through as closely, but there's a nice pop of pink in there. Trying to see, oh funny, because I didn't actually have it playing. Just to see what you're seeing. Yeah, it's still reading a bit muted. I really need to, like, at some point have, maybe on one of the next evening streams, I can have Keith here to, like, sorry, I'm going to try to move a little further away. To have Keith here so that way he could play with the settings a bit as I'm streaming to get the picture a little clearer. The exchange is around 1.54. Oh, that's high right now. Although actually, I guess I'm used to thinking of the exchange from the other direction as well. Wait, Marie, my link, the link that I shared, or did someone else share a link? Because I want to make sure that I have that. Yeah, but if you want to make a couple blanks, the ball winders, you know, the one that I got, the Singer knitting machines that I use, those run about between $20 and $30. So if you're going to make at least 3 blanks, then it can be worth it. And I have done some double-stranded fingering weight blanks on those machines. I do not recommend doing double-stranded worsted blanks on the machines. The gears really, really struggled when I made one. I mean, I did successfully make one, but the gears struggled. Okay, so now we're seeing more of a bright, like, versus a teal, we're starting to get some, like, emerald green in here. But as far as, like, the gradient itself goes, the colors are still pretty dark here on the Nitty Naughty. A little less purple overall, I think, but we do have these, like, pinks popping in. What I don't know is when I wash this, how much color will come out. My hands seem to be staying, you know, flesh colored so far versus turning green, but we did, in the leftover dye, create this color. I used the Knit Picks Wool of the Andes yarn that I had attempted to dye in Coca-Cola that didn't take much color, and we sort of twisted it and put it in the pot. And so we've got this nice sort of mint green here. And so, you know, there was color left over. So I am expecting some more color to come out and the colors to lighten a bit. But I'm kind of excited with these pops of pink that are coming through, because otherwise, you know, since it took so long for the colors to bind to this yarn, the variation is overall more subtle. But since the reds and oranges were in the other colorway, I was using one of the deluxe 9-color kits. And yeah, I think that the quote muddiness of the colors went to more of a green teal versus a sort of yellowish green. Yes. Oh, sorry, I missed a question. I missed some questions. Let me check and see. Yes, so these cakes I wound loosely. I have a Knit Picks ball winder. I think it's about $20. I've had it for years. And so I wound these on not the Friday live stream, but on last Wednesday's live stream. I wound these cakes and they are super, super loose. If you were winding from a Yarn Swift, I would wind a cake and then wind a second cake from your first cake to get it super, super, super loose. But I was just winding these from the balls, the commercial balls that I bought. Yeah, this cake ended up being huge. And even this cake that was only 50 grams was like as big as a cake that I'll wind from the Swift of the Stroll yarn. Okay, cool. Making sure I didn't miss any questions. But yeah, I mean, I did not ever buy Knit Picks blanks myself until I did the first sock blank special. And I mean, I mean, they're really nice. What I'm doing and then live stream on Wednesday is I made my own double-stranded blank out of Stroll fingering yarn. And the blank I made, since it was the first double-stranded blank I'd ever made, it has some mistakes in it. So one of the things I'm curious about when I unravel that is how identical are the two 50-gram balls of yarn that I get from this homemade blank. Because maybe if you really want to get two identical 50-gram skeins, I don't know if like my tension is less even unwinding from when I was making the 2 at a time blank myself, or if like some of the drop stitches could have affected things. So I'm curious to see how it compares, because the commercial blank felt very, very identical as I was unraveling it. Oh dear. Sorry, I can no longer see. I'm on a knitting machine. Yeah, the adding machine. Have you dyed a gradient with a hand wound ball before? I have. Versus a cake. There is one. I did the unraveling of the ball on a live stream within the last couple of weeks or so. That video, I forget when that video is, what Dye Pot Weekly number that one is going to be. But that video is edited and on the channel, and so will be out. Certainly with that one's coming out definitely within the next month. So what I'm saying with this one, I mean, there's a very, very subtle gradient. There's a lot more, and it's really not reading on camera, so I'll need, and too bad that I didn't bring a second Nitty Notty down, so I'll be taking it off the Nitty Notty to wash it. But it definitely started with a lot more purple, sort of here towards the center, and it got more green. But I think as far as gradients go, this one is pretty subtle. Maybe we're going to see a bit more bright green here towards the end, but I mean, this yarn is beautiful. I've really enjoyed dyeing with these Lion Brand Fisherman twists. So I think it's the ball is what, 235 grams or so. I don't think I have a label down here. And so, the ball seems expensive because I think it's like $12 for the ball, but you get over 200 grams of yarn, so it's not as bad if you look at it that way. But I'm really excited. I ordered a bunch of the reverse twist. So the ones that will have 3 strands of the dark brown and 1 strand of the paler color. And so I think it'll be really, really fun to dye those. So now as I'm starting to approach the center, we still have some pink. So I'm really excited about these like flecks of pinky purple throughout, but it's also a lot wetter. So I'm trying to be gentle so I don't like block it and stretch out the fibers too much. And okay, why do we keep going up too much? You found it difficult to unwind and separate my sock blank down in my Singer machine. It was all twisted together. That's sort of what I'm expecting. So I once did cake dyeing with 2 strands. So I made a yarn cake, and then I took the center and the outside. So I took the 2 ends, and I wound that into a cake together and dyed it. So I got 2 identical 50-gram asymmetric balls of yarn, which was really, really cool. But it was sort of a pain to unwind, but it also wasn't completely dry when I unwound it. So what I don't know is if I'm going to find, and I've started dyeing the Stroll one first, so it's more of a comparison with the commercial Stroll blanks. But on Wednesday, that's when I'm going to do a review and say, like, you know, sure, you can, after that I can give a real, sure, you can make your own double-stranded blank, or if I recommend, you know, if you really want a double-stranded blank, you know, maybe you want to buy one. But, ooh, there are not very many, but there's some flecks that have like a bit of bright blue. That's probably like some of the sections that were actually touching one of the blue, the blue dye tablets. But I mean, I think that on your screen, this is reading very, very solid. And I don't really see, okay, right there you can kind of see some of the pink, but the color variation is a bit brighter in person than it's showing up on the video. And so now what I'm doing is I'm just tying this off. And where did I start? Over here? Yay, they're on opposite sides. That's good. So, I like, and the good news, it's really good news that I have not dyed my fingers. I did one of the cake dyeing with Easter egg dye tablets in more recent times. When I was unwinding it, it was still pretty wet, and there were just splashes of green dye coming out, and I was like, eek. But, oh, this is pretty. Again, I don't think the colors are really reading that true, but you can still see the twist all the way through. Even in the darkest areas, it's more subtle. But I think that this twisted yarn gives a lot of really nice dimension to the hand-dyed yarn. If you unravel from the, so unraveling from the wrong end can make things hard, but I think that the difference from I'm like trying to pull it, oh, let's use this string. The difference from a commercially wound blank is that, you know, you can have 2 like spools of yarn coming in, and so they're not, versus when you're unwinding from a cake of yarn, they're sort of wrapping around each other more. So who knows, maybe it would be better to start with 2 50-gram balls of yarn that are totally separate versus a cake of yarn and take both sides, because I don't know if maybe that would prevent them from twisting around each other as much. Can you give clues on using, yours was from 2 different skeins and completely dry? Well, we'll see on Wednesday how much trouble I have unraveling this skein. What does one make with 1 skein? So you mean if you have if you have a single stranded blank? So I've made hats. I've done with a similar technique, and so the same kind of goes with a blank goes for some of these cake dyed yarns because they're asymmetric. You could do a cool pair of socks that has a colorway that goes up to 1 toe and then maybe like back the other way. That kind of like, you know, is a fun like unmatching pair. But you know, scarves, cowls, hats, toys. There's a lot of things that you can do with a gradient that isn't, I guess, a matched set. I love making shawls personally, and 100 grams of fingering weight yarn is like a really good amount to do kind of a nice shawlette or something that's kind of like a little scarf. So that's something that I personally would probably do with a lot of these yarns. I love asymmetrical cakes. Oh, and then you separate it into 2 skeins. That takes out the twists and tangles and makes it easier to separate. Oh, that's a good idea. Shorty socks. Ooh, fun. Yeah, I mean, you could mix, and you could mix two different gradients together and get a really, really cool effect. But let's do our second. So this one reads a bit better on the camera because the colors are brighter. So the top is a lot more yellow than the bottom, which is more orange. I'm curious again how much of a gradient we will get versus just some cool colors, but I think that whatever we get will read a bit better on camera. But this one is also only 50 grams versus 100. So there's not as much. I think that it's only 231 yards versus, yeah, I think it's 231. For the 50 grams of stroll. And I'm like totally on the wrong side with my nitty naughty. Sometimes it takes me a while to get going with a good hand placement. There we go. Where I like it. What colors are you? Oh, are you talking in chat? Not to me. I'm like, right now it's orange and yellow and a little bit of pink. I just dyed 2 blanks I made them into identical pair of socks. Oh, fun. Yeah, you could, that's another thing you could do. You could, like, you know, dye 2 blanks at the same time, 2 single-stranded blanks at the same time. Yeah, so one of my favorite hats I did by dip dyeing, I made a worsted weight blank on my machine, and I dip dyed it in Wilton's Violet, and then I made a hat with that colorway. And so it's a, you know, my favorite gradient, but using it from the, you know, from a blank was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah, so the blank I dyed is, the colors of this blank are really, really cool. I did it in a some of the colors bled into each other because, all right, so another spoiler, I dyed it using acid dyes. And so I'm still, even though, so acid dyes, with all the tests I've done so far, and none of the videos have come out yet, but they work very, very, very similarly to food coloring. The one thing I don't really have a handle on is I know like approximately how many drops of food coloring I want for an intense color, or how much Wilton's food coloring to use to get an intense color. And I'm still really working with the acid dyes to figure out, okay, do I want to go straight for my stock solution? Do I want to dilute it? So I'm still figuring out some of those things. But on this blank that I'm going to unravel, I sort of have a striping thing going on. In some areas it'll be less striped because the areas were a little too thin. But I was curious, because when I dyed with one of the commercial blanks, and I'll probably do another striped commercial blank at some point, I didn't get to unravel it because that was when I sent to a backer intact. But I really wanted to see how, because I could see that the stripes weren't even, but I wanted to see how stripy did the yarns look versus just looking more like a variegated yarn. So yeah, that's what, but this blank that I dyed definitely had some like big mistakes from winding. Since then, I've wound a 2-stranded blank that has almost no mistakes, and so that one went really, really well. So I am very, very excited. And by blanks, I mean, there's a point in the first double-stranded blank where I think only one of the strands was picking up, not the other, so it's got this like weird gap. Yeah. You share some of these knitted projects. Yes, I unfortunately I don't get to knit as much of the yarns as I would like, but I am collecting pictures of from people that I sent yarn to, and I'm going to start doing some slideshows with some of those projects and show like this was the yarn and talk about the video and how I dyed the yarn, and then show the project and what it turned into. So I'm really, really excited for that. So now we're more, I guess, around the layer like where I inserted the the tablets, and you can really see the two red tablets, how the colors struck so close. And then the yellow and orange colors spread out more. Orange, a lot of orange food coloring is not composed of red and yellow, but it's one of the yellow food coloring numbers that is sort of an orange, I think at higher concentrations maybe. You're knitting messy bun beanies. Oh, that looks fun. Yeah, and you can also come, if you're not in the ChemKnits lab group on Facebook, a lot of people are sharing their own dyeing adventures and then what they're knitting or what they're planning to knit from the yarns. And so it's fun, and I'm learning a lot too. So it's good for me. I know that not everybody is on Facebook. So if you're not on Facebook, the group is closed, so you wouldn't be able to see the posts. But yeah, so it looks like with this, in terms of gradient, if you look towards the center, I guess, of the T-junction, there's a lot more orange at the beginning, and we're getting more yellow and now even more red than we had at the beginning. So slowly, we've been getting more and more of this reddish pink color from this yarn. Yes, please take pictures. And if you email them to me, you can, because Marie, I know you've emailed me in the past, I can share some anonymously in the group with other people and stuff. You're a bad backer, you got your yarn, but you have no idea what you want to make with it. That doesn't make you a bad backer. Not at all. And there's no expectation for people to share things either. Are you kidding? You're not a bad backer. You've helped support videos like these. It's like, thank you. Like what? I'm thinking like the old, like this video was brought to you by, no, you guys who, I mean, all of you who watch and comment and join in on these live streams, you really support these videos and make all of this possible. And I really, really, really appreciate all of your support. And there's no obligation to share pictures of what you make. And yeah, I've had some people being like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make anything for a long time. It's like, it's okay. You know how many, like I have plans, I have yarns with like plans of the hand-dyed yarns that I've made and ones that I've kept for myself that I haven't had a chance to make things yet. So, and it's funny, you know, I've never looked up, I don't really know what Donegal tweed nubs are actually made out of, but you can see that they didn't really take up any color. And on this one, more than the one that I did with the cooler tones, here it almost just looks like there's like crap stuck to the yarn. It doesn't really read as tweed, like maybe because the heathered quality of the yarn has gone more. On this one, maybe because the colors are a bit lighter, but you can kind of still see the like darker heathered sections, so it makes the tweed not feel as off, I guess. You make stuff for others and never myself? Oh yeah. No, I picked up some gorgeous, gorgeous yarns at a knitting expo once and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna make myself a pair of really nice slippers. And I have the pattern, I have the sparkly buttons for the side, and that yarn is sitting in my stash waiting for me to get to it someday. So we're almost at the end of the last red section. So I think it's cool that the red is going to be kind of in the middle, and then we're going to have these yellows on either side. Some of these that are more subtle, it's funny because these ones, both these cake dyings, are the most subtle cake dyed yarns I've ever gotten. And I think it might be because of all this like vinegar drama I was having. I cannot believe, and you can see, this is why I think that there might be twists with the blank, because the center came out and it got all twisted. Can I like stick you back in? So now again with this one, it's starting to get a lot more damp, which makes it a little harder to unravel. But it's still, this cake was so loose that this isn't bad at all. Off topic. I'm trying to knit a sweater, but I keep running out of motivation. I've had some projects like that. And so sometimes when I have a project that I'm losing motivation on, I set like, or something that I know is going to be a little tedious or repetitive, I'll set sort of like a goal for myself. Like I made a tessellated fish Afghan for my in-laws. And the blanket's beautiful, but I think I needed like 108 little fish. And you know, they weren't the most exciting thing to knit, but I made a goal that I was going to make 2 fish a day, and at least 2 fish a day. And, you know, if I finished another project, I had to do an extra fish or something. And so that actually helped keep me on target, so that way I was able to finish the blanket. It was going to be a Christmas present. I wanted to finish it right before my first was born, and I really wanted to finish the blanket before the baby, because I knew if the baby came, the blanket was not going to be finished. And the same thing, I did a sampler Afghan once when I wanted to teach cables to myself, and you know, I would lose motivation on these squares. I wish the patterns had been charted. I don't think I would have lost motivation, but some of these had really lengthy written instructions, and I didn't even know about charts back then. So again, I started out, okay, you have to make a square in between every other project that you do. And so that sort of helped me keep going. So that worked for me personally. I know it cut out for a bit. I'm back. It should be coming back in a second. Yeah, okay. I'm still here. I looked up and it was like, OBS is disconnected. And I was like, oh no. So the reason why I don't pull from the middle is just because I kind of like the reveal. It would be a little easier to, but I just need to check. Okay. Yeah, no, that was me. So I'm actually going to run, I'm going to do a brief ad break, run and check on the baby, because he's not really crying, but he's fussing a little bit. So I'm just going to play a short video ad for you, and then I will be back shortly and we will finish unraveling this yarn. Not everyone might see the ad, but all right, I will be right back. I'm coming back. He's fine. He just wanted his blanket on him. So, thank you guys for being patient. Whew. Yeah, you see my, oh, I'm in the dining room. Yeah, yeah, not everyone, even in the US, like, I think that it chooses so kind of randomly, oh dear, it chooses somewhat randomly who gets the ads. Or, no, it's not random at all. It appears random to us. There's some algorithm out over my pay grade, but There's no Targets in Canada? I think I went to a Target in Australia. Oh yeah, I much prefer knitting in the round than knitting flat sweaters. I did a sweater for my husband and I found a pattern I loved and I was like, oh, it's raglan sleeves. This is great. And then I buy the pattern and I think it was a magazine, so I don't think it had annotations. And I'm like, oh, this is knit flat. But I think the seams actually do help kind of with the strength, like keeping it from stretching weird. But the sweater is really pretty though. I made a couple short sleeve sweaters for myself, a bunch for the kids, and then one sweater for Keith so far. They had Target briefly in Canada, but they didn't do well. So anyway, here is the second skein of yarn. So you can see that the reds sort of all ended up in the middle, which I think is really cool and not unexpected because that's where we inserted the dye tablets. We did see some reds on the outside, but I think that this one would be, I mean, I guess it's smaller, but this would be really fun to mix this with maybe a solid or something, because this one's only 50 grams. Can you get short socks out of 50 grams? I haven't done too many. Okay, I've done barely any socks myself. I've done some out of, I think, worsted or DK weight, but here is our yarn. He's so pretty. But all right, he is unhappy. So I think I'm gonna actually cut this short. I thought that I might try to bring you guys over to go wash these on the stream, or maybe even reskein this one to see if you could see the subtle variations of color. But I think that I need to run and go deal with the my poor guy who's unhappy upstairs. But anyway, I will film a recap of these yarns so hopefully you can see the colors better. The gradients that we got are really subtle, but I think that's because I didn't add enough acid early on, even though I started off with what I thought was a lot of acid, but I used a lot of tablets. And so, you know, when we were space dyeing with these tablets, you know, we got these much more extreme looking gradients. So it's funny that these ones, the cake dyeing ended up being really subtle. But that's why these are fun, because you never really know exactly what you're going to get. And therefore, yeah, I love experimenting with all of these things. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Rebecca from ChemKnits. The affiliate links for the bare yarns are in the description, so you can buy some to experiment and try to recreate what I was doing today. But when you see Easter egg dye tablets on sale after Easter, pick some up. They're really, really fun to play with. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on Wednesday in a live stream. Bye, everyone.